Most people don't quit their dreams loudly. They don't announce it. They don't say, "I give up." They simply grow quieter about what they once wanted. They stop mentioning it. They stop imagining it. They tell themselves they've matured, that they're being realistic now. And one day, without realizing it, the dream expires. Not because it was impossible, but because it was postponed for too long. This is a story about a man who reached the age most people believe is the end of ambition. An age where society gently tells you to slow down, to be grateful, to stop trying to become something new. And what happened when he refused to listen? His name was Walter Haley. At 66 years old, Walter did not look like a man chasing a dream. He looked like a man the world had already finished with. His mornings were quiet. Too quiet. No rush, no urgency, no sense that something important was waiting for him. He lived alone in a small rented apartment above a closed-down hardware store. The sign outside was faded, the windows covered in dust, like a reminder of how things disappear when no one maintains them. Walter woke up every morning at the same time, not because he needed to, but because his body had memorized routine better than hope. He made his coffee slowly, sat at the same small table, stared out the same window, and every morning, a familiar thought arrived uninvited. So this is it. Walter had worked his entire life. Factories, small diners, supply warehouses, jobs that paid just enough to survive, never enough to escape. He wasn't lazy, he wasn't irresponsible, he was reliable. The kind of man who showed up on time, didn't complain, and was easily forgotten once the shift ended. Years earlier, he had been forced into retirement when the company died, not because he was incapable, because he was replaceable. The check arrived every month, just enough to cover rent and groceries, nothing extra, nothing growing. Friends told him he was lucky. At least you don't have to work anymore. Walter smiled politely when they said that. But inside, something twisted, because not working wasn't freedom. It was erasure. The days blended together. Monday felt like Thursday. Thursday felt like Sunday. And the most dangerous part was not the boredom. It was the acceptance. Walter had once wanted more. Years ago, when he was younger, louder, more foolish, he had dreamed of building something of his own. A small business, a simple product, something he could call his, but life had been expensive. Bills arrived faster than opportunities. Responsibility replaced imagination. So he waited. I'll try later. When things calm down. When I have more time. Later never came. And now, at 66, the voice had changed. It no longer said later. It said too late. One afternoon, while cleaning out an old drawer, Walter found a notebook. Yellowed pages, crooked handwriting, ideas, recipes, notes, sketches, plans he had written decades ago and never followed. He sat on the floor, reading them slowly, and for the first time in years, he felt something stir. Not excitement, not motivation. Regret. That night, sleep didn't come easily. His mind replayed every reason he had stopped trying. You're too old. You missed your chance. No one cares now. Why embarrass yourself? And then another thought followed. What if this is the last excuse? The next morning, Walter did something strange. He put on his old jacket, the one he only wore for important occasions, straightened his posture, and walked out the door with intention. He didn't know exactly what he was doing, only that staying still felt heavier than failing. Before we go any further, there's something important you should know. This story is inspired by real events. Some details were adapted, but the rejection, the doubt, the moment of choosing to try again when everyone else would stop that part is real. Walter took the little money he had saved. Not much. Enough to make most people nervous. He didn't invest it. He didn't gamble it. He used it to start again. Not big, not impressive, just enough to try. He believed quietly that what he had created years ago still had value. That someone, somewhere, might say yes. So he began knocking on doors. Not metaphorical doors, real ones. Small shops, family businesses, local owners who barely had time to listen. He introduced himself politely, explained what he offered, waited. Most didn't even let him finish. Some smiled kindly. Others didn't smile at all. No, no, thank you. We're not interested. You're too late. Walter heard every version of rejection imaginable. He slept in his car some nights to save money. Woke up sore, stiff, embarrassed. He questioned himself constantly. What am I doing? Who do I think I am? Why didn't I start sooner? And yet, every morning, he adjusted his jacket and tried again. Not because he felt confident, but because stopping would confirm every fear he had about himself. The rejections stacked up. 10, 20, 50. Each one chipped away at him. People avoided eye contact. Some laughed politely. Some didn't bother hiding their disbelief. An old man chasing something new felt uncomfortable to watch. Walter almost quit dozens of times, especially at night, alone in the car, staring at the ceiling. But something kept him moving, not hope. Stubbornness, a refusal to let the final chapter of his life be defined by inaction. After months of rejection, something changed, not externally, internally. Walter stopped expecting approval. He stopped explaining himself. He stopped trying to convince people. He simply offered and waited. One afternoon, in a small, overlooked place most people ignored, someone listened, not enthusiastically, not dramatically, just enough. They asked a question, then another, then said, "Let's try." That moment didn't feel like victory. It felt like relief. Not because he had succeeded, but because he had proven something to himself. It was never about age. It was about endurance. Slowly, quietly, things shifted. One yes led to another, not overnight, not explosively, but steadily. Walter didn't become famous. He didn't become rich quickly, but he became alive again. His days had direction. His effort had meaning. And the most powerful part, it all began when the world had already written him off. This is what no one tells you. Success doesn't care about your age, only about your willingness to persist when validation disappears. Most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they stop too early. They mistake discomfort for impossibility. They assume rejection is proof, but rejection is just noise. Walter learned something late in life that most never learn at all. You don't need permission to try again. You don't need applause to continue. You don't need certainty to begin. You just need to move while everyone else waits. If you're listening to this and thinking, "I'm too old, I missed my chance," it's unrealistic. Now remember this, the regret of trying and failing fades. The regret of never trying doesn't. So here's the question. What door have you stopped knocking on? What idea have you buried because it felt embarrassing to start now? If this story stayed with you longer than you expected, leave a comment and answer honestly. What would you try if age wasn't an excuse? And if you believe it's never too late to begin again? A simple like helps this. Reach someone who thinks their time is already gone. Subscribe if you want more stories like these stories about quiet resilience, late beginnings, and transformations the world never sees coming. Because sometimes the most powerful move you can make is trying one last time.